Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. I have realized that you can hoodwink some people sometimes, but you cannot hoodwink all the people all the times. The issue of punitive taxes that Ruto regime has introduced to our country is the one that will bring his regime down. And I don't know why this regime has buried its head in the sand and cannot realize that Kenyans are opposed to the issue of taxes and the 3% deductions that they are proposing to give Kenyans, ostensibly to give Kenyans, affordable housing. Raila Amolo Odinga weighed in on this debate and he told the president that what he's doing is not popular with Kenyans because Kenyans are already overburdened so much that you cannot add more taxes or you cannot force them to deduct 3% under the guise of giving them affordable housing. So today, civil servants realize that they are not going to wait for anyone to call them to go to the streets to send a warning, a clear warning to Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. So they decided to take to the streets and they were singing all manner of songs just to send a warning that they don't want the housing.
And today, they take the campaign to
who asked them for their houses? That is our question. They are defeated to define what this contribution is. They are telling us it is a mortgage. If it is a mortgage, then it is by choice. They are telling us it is a saving. If it is a saving, it is by choice.
And if there is one shocking news that Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto have received today, is the fact that people can go to the streets without being called by Raila Amolo Odinga. Because anytime people go to the streets, as is envisaged in our constitution, because we have the freedom of picketing and freedom of association, the government has always turned around to blame Raila Amolo Odinga. But the lessons that this government must learn, because if they don't, it is going to backfire on them, are very enormous. Number one, Kenyans have refused to be hoodwinked and to be taken for granted anymore. Because ever since this regime started its campaigns, they campaigned on a golden platform saying that they had a plan for economic recovery, an economy that they claimed was on its knees courtesy of the previous regime. Today, all the promises that they gave cannot be realized. Instead, life continues to even to be harder than it was during the previous regime. And William Ruto has studied the politics of Kenya, and he knows that Kenyans can be hoodwinked. You say something today, you tell them that you will lower the prices of gas, cooking gas. Then a few days later you tell them that you really didn't mean the LPG, liquefied gas. You tell them that I meant the container gas, mtungi. But it seems that Kenyans have also studied the kind of regime that they are dealing with, and they have refused to be lied to. This is why Boni Halwale tried to convince Kenyans and to persuade them that the taxes are meant for their good, and they actually refused. They booed him down. The PS Hinga, who's in the Ministry of Housing, was sweating trying to explain, because Kenyans have scrutinized their lies, and all the lies have been made naked and they can no longer lie to Kenyans. And I want to say that this is a good thing, because I have always opined on this channel that until the day when Kenyans will realize that they have to stand and be counted, until the day that Kenyans will realize that they have to stand up for themselves to be emancipated, because no one will do it for them. This is what has happened before. When we were fighting against the colonial masters, Kenyans had to rise up, make a decision that we must stand up for our rights. When people were fighting for the second liberation against the Nyeri regime, against the one-party state, people had to decide on one accord that we will go to the streets and send a warning that we are tired. Punda, Amechoka. I also realized that as the civil servants went out there, they did not look at their political affiliation, nor did they consider their tribal affiliation. There was no ethnic grouping there. All that mattered to the civil servants is that they had a common enemy in the name of the Ruto regime, in the name of Kenya Kwanza. And they were sending a message despite the fact that they come from different ethnic groups, they belong to different political parties. And this is a good thing, because many times the government has succeeded in divide and rule. We will either be divided along political lines or along the ethnic lines. But you see, when a regime decides and succeeds in dividing, they can easily rule. But today, the message is crystal clear that Kenyans are tired and they have decided to take the bull by its horns. They have decided to bury their political and ethnic differences aside and move on to tell this regime that we will not allow you to hoodwink and we will not allow you to force it down our throats. Hatutaki nyumba. This is the first time I have seen Kenyans, I have seen citizens being coerced to own affordable houses, according to William Samuel Ruto. The fact that they decided to go to the streets without any political leader speaks volumes, ladies and gentlemen. Because we have always refused to stand for our rights. We have always waited for our politicians to take us to the streets. And let me tell you something, this will vindicate Raila Amolo Odinga, because when he started the calls for William Ruto to resign, when he started the calls to force William Ruto to lower the cost of living, they branded him names. They called him a perennial loser. They said that the demonstrations were meant for the Luos, the ethnic community where Raila belongs. But now, people are beginning to realize that Raila was, after all, very right. And Raila has been vindicated. And this will be an impetus. It is going to give Raila more voice, more strength, so that even as he calls for the second part of the demonstrations, people will come out. Because remember, we had said that the more William Ruto is thinking that he can always hoodwink Kenyans, the more he buys time, the more the people will scrutinize his message. The more life continues even to be difficult to maintain, then people will go to the streets. We will have several groups. I have always maintained that sooner before this government realizes, then the university students, because the university fee has been increased, will go to the streets. Teachers will plunge into the streets. Doctors will do the same. Before the administration realizes, everyone will be on the streets fighting for one common uniting factor, the cost of living. The civil servants went to the streets and they were complaining about the 3% deduction on affordable housing. We have not touched on the 16% VAT that is lying in Parliament, where parliamentarians want to pass and impose a VAT on fuel products, and this will increase the product of everything, because you all understand that whenever a government imposes taxes on products, the producers and retailers will in turn transfer that cost and expense to the consumers. We already have an overburdened citizen. We cannot take it anymore. And I want to applaud Kenyans, the civil servants who went to the street, because this is the way to go. Soon the whole nation will uprise. This is going to lead to an uprising, the Unga revolution. It is inevitable, because every Kenyan now feels the pangs of hunger, and they are angry at the same time. Even the hustlers that voted for William Ruto are making a U-turn, because William Ruto has stand out and proved that they are very dishonest. This is the end of this regime. This will be the end of this regime, because Kenyans are tired, and they are playing with a time bomb. It is only a matter of time. I have seen them arresting people in Jacaranda. The other day, they were trying to mess up with Maina Njenga. They arrested the ghetto president. And before they know it, they realize that they're wrecking this boat from within. And today I want to say this, ladies and gentlemen. If they have been accusing Raila Odinga as the man who has always been leading the demonstrations, I want to submit to you that the person who is leading demonstrations is none other than this regime itself, William Samoei Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, because by their actions, either subconsciously or intentionally or ignorantly, they have led Kenyans to go to the streets. The governors are crying foul, because the national government has declined to release the county funds, which is actually in the constitution. The civil servants are crying out. Every citizen is crying out. So they have a reason to go to the streets, courtesy of this regime. And William Ruto does not want to hear the voice of the people. The last time I checked, they said that the voice of the people is the voice of God. Very soon, Kenyans will force him to listen to their voices. And this is just a warning. Let William Ruto understand that Kenyans have refused to be hoodwinked. They have refused to listen to the blame game, because Uhuru Kenyatta is no longer in power. And to the hustlers who voted for this regime, what do you think? Share with me in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for listening.